I think once the heart is open and you sort of feel one with reality, the question is what is next, right? So your heart center is open. Okay, you feel love, you feel gratitude. What is next? Is the next step for you to learn wisdom, learn perhaps certain ways of like discernment, how to discern, and spiritual knowledge and things like that? Or is it power? Because I think Willow remembers these three models of power, love, and wisdom. Power being the center related to the navel, love being the center related to the heart, and wisdom being the center related to thoughts and also spiritual perception. So if you think about like my life since I was a kid, it was, I think, mostly learning. I think I came with wisdom. I think when I was born, there was a lot of wisdom, but the love was lacking. So I think the first half of my life, from the ages of, I don't know, maybe like 9 or 10 or 8 to all the way to now, it was mostly focusing on like finding a love within myself, right? And when you find that love within yourself, it fills in the gaps, like the holes. And what are the holes? The holes are the holes of feelings of lack and not having, right? So then the love kind of fulfills that lack. But then now you're in a state of love and nourishment and fullness. What do you do next? And for me, it's like clearly I'm moving into my power. And so the power center at the belly is connected to manifestation, bringing the love and wisdom that is within yourself to the physical plane. It's about expressing your sexuality in a way that is sort of creative. So it doesn't have to be like in sex, it can be just in creative work, but also in whatever way that is in sort of in loving others, whether that's in sexual relationship or whether that is in creative expression. Sort of bringing that love and the sexuality and combining them into divine passion. And that's sort of the alchemical process was sexuality, the sexual energy is like a base, raw energy. There's nothing wrong or bad about it. But when you combine it with the love of the heart, when you combine this base energy with the love of the heart, you can create divine passion. So divine passion for your partner, divine passion for your creativity, divine passion for your spirituality, whatever it may be, right? So there's an alchemical process. And then power also is about you knowing that, okay, I feel the love, I have the wisdom, but now I can crystallize it in something physical that I can create, right? It's like maybe writing or speaking or singing, whatever it may be for you. So yeah, in my life, currently I'm going through that journey of going from the love to the power. Because if you think about it, if you have wisdom, right, like, and then you have love, but no power, it's almost like something's missing. It's like you feel and you understand, but you can't act. The action is like not there. And there's so much more dynamism when the three are acting as one. When you know who you are and you feel love for yourself, and you then create something with an empowered sense of being. So you go into action. So I think the number 3, so if you think of wisdom being around the head, number 1, love being around the heart, number 2, and 3 being the power. So 3 in numerology is also the number for creativity and creation. And it's a very sacred number because a man and a woman sort of create a new child, right? 3 is an act of birthing, is an act of creating and creation. And I think it's the ultimate act of beauty and divinity when you create something from that place of knowing yourself and loving yourself. It's like the power is something that's bringing the love and the wisdom together into a crystallized form. And if you see beautiful architectures like beautiful churches around you, I think these people who were building them, they really understood what was going on. They really knew themselves and they really devoted, right, so much love to their work, because like their artwork lasted for decades. You know, it took decades to build them. So the sacred work we do is something that we also leave behind for the next generation. So it's of utmost importance. So I think that I've spoken enough. I'd love to open this to you guys to jump in and sort of see if you resonate currently in your life with this material. On what stage are you currently in? Are you developing the wisdom, understanding of who you are? Are you like going to the devotion and loving yourself? Or is it going to being a creator of your reality and really creating for service of others? Because again, power without love becomes selfish. So power with love sort of channels into acting in alignment with serving others. I think there's definitely commonality, like a pattern here, right? For spiritual people, especially when we are born, maybe because we are born with so much empathy, it's easy for everybody, including our family, to sort of suppress our voice because, you know, we sort of go with what they say. Or we are easily influenced when we are like very kids, we easily feel their energies. So if they tell us to shut up or something, like we really take on that energy, you know, and something in our energy actually shrinks, right? So I think really the most active empowerment is, again, going first to the love, to the self-love, because I think the self-love is the nourishment, right? It's the food your soul needs. And then once you have that love and you don't need to get it from somebody or something, then you can go into being in the power center and acting from confidence, acting from your own power, because you don't need validation from the outside. Because the energy of validation, the energy of love is the same energy, right? So if we feel love already, there's no need for me to look outside of myself to get validation. So then I can go towards power. So I think that's why the love center, the heart, is so important to go through, and then from the heart, then go to the power center. But yeah, Willow and Maria, I think all three of us, we have had similar experiences in the past, to some extent at least. And I think it's amazing when you do actually like tap into your power, right? The sacred center at the belly, which is connected to action, sexuality. That is when the whole world, I think, is going to be changed by you, because there's so much power we have, so much wisdom we have, that if we allow ourselves to express it, it's so powerful that even we get scared of our own power. And sort of that's the conversation I had with Adam, is that I think I'm right now scared of my own power. And why? Like, who knows why? Probably, again, going back to subconsciously, the way you grow up, you are not taught to express yourself and to feel your power. So when you did express power at certain stages, you were shut down, or somebody was rude to you, somebody did not accept you. So that's sort of, maybe the fear maybe comes from that, but it also could be I feel like almost in the air, there is like a fear sometimes, right? Like it's like most people live in fear. And I think for whatever reason, again, subconsciously, but if you tap into your power, I think it's so offensive to the matrix, to this sort of the separate, the world that is designed through separation and through this disempowerment. And I think the one way to really, personally, as I was listening to you guys, I got the insight, what is the best way, I think, to tap into your power is through using your voice. Now, you could use it in other ways that is sort of intuitive to you, like any sort of artistic ways that you're creating. But I think the voice is so crucial because, again, I think the first time that we suppress our power, it comes with us suppressing our voice, either not expressing or not openly expressing, either completely shutting down or reducing our voice and placing our energy into the heart and into the throat instead of our energy, our attention, our breath coming from the navel. So a guru I was listening to, he said really one of the reasons people do sort of suppress their sexuality is because the first trauma happens when a child is playing with his own genitalia, and then the mommy and daddy like goes to the child and says like, don't do that, that's bad. And then the child sort of, that's the first trauma of the child losing his connection to his sexuality. And again, this power, sexuality, the navel is all connected, right? It's like being comfortable in your own sexual energy, being comfortable speaking from the power center without being ashamed of it is really the key. But I do think even if your artistic expression, your natural ways of expressing yourself is not your voice, I still think using your voice in a way that you feel the power and you speak from the navel is maybe one of the best ways to, again, to create that momentum of power, right? Because love is more about feeling, right? It's feeling, is doing the work. But I think with power, you have to sort of act in some sort of way. You can feel the power, right? But then there is a requirement of action as well. And I think the best action we can do, again, is to use our voice in whatever way that we feel called to, whether speaking, singing, um, preaching, teaching, whatever it is your thing. But I've been doing a lot of chanting recently, and I think towards the end of this conversation, we'll do some chanting together to tap into the inner power, to the inner warrior. But chanting is beautiful because again, with chanting, there are sacred sounds that reverberate in your whole body, right? And I think when you do chanting for 15, 20 minutes or something like that, you really feel empowered, right? You don't feel like the effects of chanting is much to do with love. In my opinion, chanting is more empowering than loving, but it's also loving in a different way. But you feel a kind of power, you feel a kind of focus, you feel like a sword, right? Rather than, you don't feel like water. You feel like a sword, you feel sharp, you feel expressive, you feel um, yeah, you feel like that. And I think it's really beautiful to do some chanting. But yeah, before we practice anything like that, any of you have anything to say about what I mentioned?
Well, I loved what you said about the feeling of what self-love and validation or love and validation being like the same energy. So like if you already feel that love within yourself, you don't seek the validation. That really struck me. And I think that's something that I've noticed like I've been feeling the need to like put myself out there more, which previously was super scary. And I just like the thought of it just I couldn't do it. And then I just felt ready. But I realized that with that came this feeling of like I didn't care like what other people thought, right? And I noticed also with that, like I'm saying kinder things to myself. So when you said that, like I didn't even realize that's exactly true. I had was having more self-love for myself. So it was easier to put myself out there because I wasn't doing it to seek validation. I was doing it from just like my own just expressing myself authentically. And so I thought that was really good. And then I had a thought about like the power thing too. Like you mentioned this kind of fear of your own power. And it just made me realize like when I was a kid, the people who were powerful in my life, they came with big emotions and unpredictability. I'm thinking of like my dad, right? It was just these really strong emotions. But not all of them, just some of them were okay to express, but it was just like unpredictability and strong emotions, and maybe not somebody that I wanted to necessarily like I didn't really see myself that way. And like these people of power, like we see on TV, it's rarely like if you were exposed to that from like a young age, it's rarely these like positive forces of power. So maybe subconsciously there's this fear of power, meaning like you are going to be like somebody who maybe scared you a little bit or someone that you don't necessarily look up to, and maybe that's like the subconscious belief of what power is, so it's kind of scary to step into it because there's few role models at least when you're younger, now we can find them more. But when you're younger, there's fewer role models that really kind of embody the kind of power that you might see for yourself. I don't know. Does that make sense?
No, you got it exactly right. And I think I was talking to Adam about this, and we both sort of had the clarity that I am scared of tapping into my power because I'm scared of it corrupting something or someone. And then he was like, look, the way to go about it is you can't out evolve what you haven't learned. So go with it, not fearing whether it can corrupt you or not, because maybe it can, and it will for a moment. But then that's the only way to know. You have to be willing to go and to go put yourself on kind of a risky situation where it could be corrupted. You could come across as dominating or whatever, but you have to go through that. There's no other way. And I really understood, okay, like that is true. Just like anything, you have to go through it, then refine it, and then sort of bring it down. There's no other way of having it perfect, you know? And then what you said about expressing emotion is exactly right. Like we also need to express emotion. If we feel an emotion, we need to express it, right? Like that's the way to be empowered too. Unpredictability is not, I don't think is necessary. If you are unpredictable, be unpredictable. But but yeah, I think the emotion is important because I think we spiritual people tend to like sort of suppress our emotion. We don't express, and we want to come across as calm and peaceful. And I think that's exactly the sexual energy, because the sexual energy and the emotions is quite unpredictable and quite chaotic. So channeling that chaos, being okay with channeling that chaos, and not being afraid that this chaos could come across as too much, too much power. Again, sometimes meditation is not the best practice. Sometimes maybe chanting or getting into a feel state in whatever way that is you feel the love, and then sort of using your voice in a powerful way. That could be the best meditation for you, because again, you need to find the practice for you that allows you to have the love and the power in a way together. So we're gonna do a lot of chanting together.